Good evening. The Cypress-Fairbanks Independent School District Board of Trustees are now convened in the regular board meeting on Monday, February the 8th, 2021, in the boardroom of Cypress-Fairbanks Independent School District Instructional Support Center, located at 10,300 Jones Road, Houston, Texas, at 6 p.m. I want to welcome the members of our audience and our television viewers to this meeting of the Board of Trustees. As the Cypress-Fairbanks Board of Trustees, we are here to set goals, listen to reports from the superintendent, approve budgets, contracts, personnel appointments, and make policy for the district. It is not the role of the board to make day-to-day operational decisions. The management and day-to-day operations of the district are the responsibility of the superintendent. We have policies and procedures in place to resolve concerns and issues. This is a public meeting of the Board of Trustees, not a meeting of the public. Prior to this meeting, board members received information related to items on tonight's agenda. Agenda items will not necessarily be handled in the order listed on the notice. The meeting is open to all who wish to attend and hear the matters discussed. During the course of this meeting, the board may determine that a closed session is necessary. In that event, the board will meet in closed session to consider matters duly posted for this meeting as permitted by sections 551.071 through 551.084 of the Texas Government Code. These proceedings are airing live on Comcast Channel 16 and the district website. They will also be available as video on demand on the district website following tonight's meeting. For the video to adequately reflect the proceedings, I respectfully ask that you please refrain from talking while others are speaking, and that cell phones are turned off or in silent mode, which is what I'm going to do right now. Please join me in doing that. Thank you for taking the time to join us this evening and for your interest in Cypress-Fairbanks Independent School District. I would like to take this opportunity to recognize our community leadership members who are in attendance this evening. Hold on just a second. Did I get a list up here? Okay, Ryan Irving, please stand. Stephanie, Stacy, where are you? Oh, there you are. Okay. Is there somebody else? Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Thank y'all for being here. These people come together once a month, and where's Francis? Oh, hi, Francis. Francis Romero. And they come together and they learn more and more about our school district. We appreciate their support, especially during these times when our Texas House is in session. I don't think we have any Boy Scouts, though, right? The invocation for tonight's board meeting will be given by Stephen Bailiff, lead pastor of Second Baptist Church, Cypress Campus, where he has served for 15 years. Stephen and his wife, Tiffany, have lived in the CFISD community since 2006 and have 3 boys that attended Sampson Elementary School, Goodson and Spillane Middle School, and Cy Woods High School. Second Baptist Cypress Campus has adopted 3 CFISD schools: Salyard Middle School, Alt Elementary School, and Cypress Park High School. Stephen is a current member of the Community Leadership Committee in CFISD. Second Baptist Cypress does a great job of supporting our staff, students, and the community. Stephen, we appreciate your ongoing commitment to our district, and thank you for being here tonight. Before the invocation, I would like to introduce the Cypress Lakes High School AFJROTC cadets who will be presenting the colors this evening. Cadet Captain Dana Sierra Segundo, carrying the United States flag. Cadet Staff Sergeant Catherine Maravilla, carrying the Texas flag. Cadet Lieutenant Colonel Sky Chin, and Cadet Leighton Ward on rifle. These cadets represent the colors to you under the direction of Lieutenant Colonel Joel Jones. So would you please stand for the invocation, and after the invocation, the presentation of the flags.
Father, we are so grateful for the opportunity to live in the greatest nation. And Lord, to be able to send our children to the best education possible. Lord, we pray for your protection over our teachers, our students, our administrators. Father, with COVID and everything that they're going through this year, may they just learn. May they empower and may they lead in such a way that glorifies and honors you. Lord, we pray for our continued strength for our teachers as they adapt their jobs and their opportunities to lead our students. Lord, we pray that we would learn and learn well in a safe environment. Lord, you bless these administrators, you bless this meeting, give them supernatural wisdom and discernment as they lead our community in such a great way. We pray your blessings on CFISD and everyone involved. We pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. Board Member Don Ryan will read the district's vision and mission statement for the benefit of the audience.
Our vision at CFISD is formed from the acronym LEAD, to learn, empower, achieve, dream, LEAD. Our mission is to maximize every student's potential through rigorous and relevant learning experiences, preparing students to be 21st century global leaders.
Thank you, Mr. Ryan. We will now proceed with the recognition portions of the agenda. The superintendent will make remarks and announcements, including the honors and achievements earned by staff and students in recent weeks. Dr. Henry?
Thank you, Mr. President. CFISD principals selected Keith Elementary Principal Dawn Tryon and Cypress Springs Principal Dr. Cheryl Henry as district representatives for the 2020-21 Region 4 Principal of the Year Award. Students from Cy Ferris, Cy Falls, Cy Creek, Cy Ranch, and Jersey Village High Schools attended the virtual Texas Association of Future Educators Region 4 North competition, earning several awards. A total of 50 CFISD students qualified and will move on to the virtual 37th Annual Teach Tomorrow Summit. The CFISD Human Resources Department received the University of Texas Rio Grande Valley Champion Employer Award. The University of Texas Rio Grande Valley Career Center selects a company each month to receive the award that hires its students and alumni for jobs, internships, and careers. CFISD was selected for the January honor. 44 CFISD high school music students recently earned all-state honors from the Texas Music Educators Association. More than 70,000 students from across the state competed through a series of virtual competition rounds to earn this performance distinction. More than 85 CFISD high school theater arts students received first and second place rankings at the virtual Texas Thespian Festival. The students now qualify for the virtual national competition in June, sponsored by the Educational Theater Association. Congratulations to all of our fine arts students. We recently selected a new principal, so I will turn it over to Roy Garcia for the introduction.
Thank you, Dr. Henry. President Covey and Board of Trustees, as you may recall, Carrie Huff retired last month from Tips Elementary School, and this evening we are excited to introduce our new Tips Elementary School principal to you and to the CFISD community, Mrs. Felicia Thomas. I will provide a brief overview of Ms. Thomas's professional experience and then give her the opportunity to address the board and introduce her family. Felicia received her bachelor's degree from the University of Texas and her master's degrees from Dallas Theological Seminary and Stephen F. Austin State University. Prior to joining CFISD in 2011, Felicia served as a child abuse prevention teacher, a fourth grade teacher in Dallas and Katy ISD, and a fifth grade teacher in Alief ISD. She also served as an assistant principal in Royal Independent School District. Felicia was an instructional specialist and counselor at Andre Elementary School and most recently served as an assistant principal at Duryea Elementary. Felicia participated in the Aspiring Principals Institute and was a facilitator for our new Administrator Institute. Felicia and her husband Henry have 5 children: Brandon, a Stephen F. Austin State graduate; Jeremiah, an 11th grader; Henry, a 9th grader; Aaron, a 7th grader; and Jonathan, a 5th grader. Felicia loves to read, play tennis, sing, and write. And while in college, she had the opportunity to intern at Time Magazine in New York. Please join me in congratulating Miss Felicia Thomas.
Board President Covey, Board of Trustees, Dr. Henry, it is an honor indeed to be named the principal of Tips Elementary. I want to take this opportunity to thank some of my biggest supporters, and that would be my husband, Reverend Henry Thomas Jr. He's been there the whole way. And also our boys. Brandon couldn't be with us tonight, but we also have Jeremiah, Henry, Aaron, and Jonathan. So I also want to thank my parents and my siblings who are watching via live stream. I also want to take this opportunity to thank those who have invested in me. I thank Marilyn Friedel, who brought me into Cypher ISD, Laura Ann Novosinski, Kenneth Henry Jr., Tamika Williams, who all grew me as a leader. And I also want to thank countless others who have just been my colleagues, friends, and supporters along the way. To my Andre, Duryea, and Tips family who are with me via live stream, thank you so much. And I'm just elated to be a part of the Tips family, to continue the rich tradition of making sure students are not just intellectually challenged, but also helping them to grow social emotionally so that they can be great citizens and the leaders of tomorrow. Thank you so much.
Public comments. Patrons who are duly registered per policy BED local may address the board and make public comments on an agenda item during or before the board's consideration of the item. The board may allow public comment or agenda items at all meetings. The board will continue with the remaining agenda after the registered patrons have had an opportunity to speak. Tonight, we have none that have signed up. Number 5, board comments. Any board member may make a comment during this portion of the agenda without prior posting being required. Comment items may not pertain to the character of any students, staff, or board member and may not be discussed or deliberated upon at this meeting. Board members, I'm going to start with Ms. Debbie Blackshear.
Well, first of all, can you hear me okay with the mask on? Or do I? Oh, okay. First of all, I want to thank the schools for the wonderful board appreciation gifts last month. I was not here because I was in quarantine, and when they were delivered on my doorstep the next morning, it was just such a treat to see all the things. I feel like I am not deserving, but it should be I who are giving the schools the gifts, and they really do mean a lot. I participated in the January Lunch and Learn, and we received a COVID update from Ian Glass of Houston Methodist Hospital, and also an update from Katie Gentry on the distribution of Chromebooks. We also had a visit from the Science Resource Center of a corn snake and Milky Way, a hamster. It was quite educational. Then, since the last board meeting, I visited Bridgeland High School, Warner Elementary, the Brodingham Center, Yeager Elementary, Burks Elementary, and Postma Elementary. And I will say, my visits, the teachers, the principals, they just continue to wow me with how well they are handling this pandemic situation and how enthusiastic and happy they are to be at school and have their students at school. And I am just so grateful and thankful for each one and for their dedication to our district and mainly to the students. I just cannot say enough great words about them. I'd also like to congratulate Denise Kabeka, Dr. Linda Macias, Dr. Heather Bergman, the entire CTE team, and all our ag science teachers on a highly successful livestock show in Sale this past week. I attended every show, and I can tell you that the safety protocols were followed. It was, in what was a challenging year, our community turned out to support our FFA students. And it was a great sale. It was better than last year. The numbers were up. As co-chairman of the John Fox Chamber Herd, I was concerned that the sale might be down and we might have fewer buyers. The Chamber Herd, I will say, managed to raise $19,000 to purchase projects, which was $2,000 more than last year. So it just shows you the commitment of the community in our area. I want to also congratulate all of our exhibitors. And what makes me so proud is that CFISD proved that it could be done in a pandemic year when so many are canceling their shows and livestock sales. But the commitment of this district to give all of our students the opportunity just makes my heart happy for our students, that they are able to continue and do the activities that they love so well. So again, thank you to administration for seeing that it happened, and to all the people who made it happen and made it happen safely. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Blackshear. Mr. Ryan, any words of wisdom?
Not tonight. I peaked earlier in the day, so thank you for asking.
Mr. Jackson.
I think my colleague, Ms. Blackshear, said it very eloquently about the livestock show. It was very impressive. It was fun to see the joy on the faces of our students and the community support. Very heartwarming. I continued my school visits, and a nod of appreciation to senior management and also board president for making certain that this remains an integral part of what we do as trustees. My visit at Langham Creek and also at Francone Elementary meshed with the other schools I visited. What we were seeing is tremendous creativity on delivery of instruction, putting together pure models of instruction wherever possible for the benefit not only of our students, but also staff. The thank yous continue to pour in, whether I'm in a grocery store or eating dinner, from teachers expressing appreciation for their one day of month. And their words cannot describe, I cannot describe adequately their appreciation. I do wish we could do a little more. I do see the joy on the faces and the body posture of the students in campus. They're glad to be there. And of course, the vaccines give us hope, even though the next 2 months will be difficult. And I want to say thank you to our campus leadership and our staff at all levels. You carry on with courage. You know what you're facing every day. but you come to school each and every day. And also, as I said at the livestock show to parents who were there, the community deserves tremendous kudos as well. They're supporting this district, but they're also supporting safety measures of this district. Whether they agree as to the necessity, they're still stepping up and say, yes, we will do our part. So thank yous abound across the board. And thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson. Dr. Ogletree.
Yes, thank you. February is Black History Month, and I want to thank those in our district who allowed the students to observe this history. History is so important to where we are. It is a look in the past. We normally deal with the present and try to look toward the future. But history helps us to understand people and our world. And Black history is American history. It looks at the contributions of Blacks, people who have made a contribution to this country now for over 400 years. And one benefit is that it helps to raise the consciousness of Black students, to let them know their value. It gives them their dignity and gives them a goal to achieve. But it also, another benefit, it helps others to understand that in this great country of ours, all people should be valued, appreciated, and all people have made this country to be what it is. So I hope that we'll have more schools, more teachers to allow the observance of this rich history and the month of February. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ogletree. Mr. Sarabia.
Yes, I got to resume my campus visits this past month here, and I was very fortunate enough to get to go to Anthony, Metcalf, and Cy Lakes. My first visit to Anthony, and hadn't been to Metcalf in years, but what I saw, and during the week, the 2 weeks that I saw Anthony, Metcalf, and Cy Lakes, I saw way over 2,000 students there, maybe even close to 3. And the students were being shown excellent leadership. I can maybe count in one hand, maybe the students that weren't masked up properly and not following protocols. They were excellent. And even the little kindergarten kids that were walking from one distance to the other were so orderly and so nice. I'll tell you what, it was very touching, and to see the passion of the educators there and the staff, it was phenomenal. It was very heartwarming and nice to see that the administration's plan was going through as such, and to the sacrifices that all the educators and the teachers make every day was very enlightening. I've got to visit the nurses. I wanted to visit the nurses and make sure that they knew that we were thinking of them and their plight and stuff. And they were there, and they were all busy, and it was just great. Cy Lakes was absolutely fantastic. Oh my God, in great hands, the staff. I got to see some teachers that I've known for probably 30 years, because they're only like 35 or 36 and stuff. So, and they came out and got to see them do their job, and it was very breathtaking. From choir, performing Hamilton, and I was just taken back by they were doing Hamilton, and did a little skit for me. Oh God, I almost broke down there. It was kind of and stuff. And then the band and the nutrition services, the nurses, and it was just fantastic. I tell you what, Side Lakes is a hidden gem in the west part of our district and stuff, and they're in excellent hands there, and I'm just so proud of that. I got to visit with Debbie and Julie there at the swine competition on Friday morning, and that was very, very enlightening to me. The kids were out there, and I don't know anything about what's going on there, though, but good thing that Debbie's husband was behind me, because he was filling in all the stuff, him and her son and stuff. But it was so exciting, and the kids' faces, they're doing everything, and their protocols, like Debbie said, they were going through, and the clubs that y'all raised the money to help the students, so that way they have something to show for their hard work, is very gratifying. Again, the parents were over here, we were over there, the kids were over there. It was fantastic. It was awesome doing that. Also, I got to go to the natatorium and see the swimming. Teresa was coming in. She goes, "They're swimming right now. I'm going there." And I went to the natatorium and saw the girls' competition. And throughout the region, our beautiful facility at Pridgeon is hosting. Where we used to go before to go do other things somewhere else, we're hosting now. We are the host. And so we're showing people what our district is and stuff. And it was fantastic. It was very, very nice seeing that and being run so efficiently and safely. I do want to have a shout out to a young lady and a mom who daughter was in the swine competition on Friday, and she was there near us. She had lost her father, and the mom was there just days before the swine competition, and the young lady was still there showing her prize swine. I tell you what, it's courage and what we see throughout the district. I mean, just days before, and she was going to see it through, and the mom was telling me the story, and I was like, oh God, this is, it's life going on. They're learning life skills, and for everything the administration does and our educators and everybody involved, applaud you guys, because y'all probably don't get enough applause on that. Anyways, I'll leave it at that, though. Great job, guys.
Thank you, Ms. Arabia. Ms. Heineman.
Thank you. School visits that I've gone on so far include Lowry, Haregrove, Bain, Bang, Fraser Elementary Schools, Dean Middle School, and ALC East. And I still have several visits to go, as do the other board members. And one of the very best parts of being a trustee is the chance to visit with teachers, students, campus staff, and to see all the incredible work that's happening on our campuses. Each campus has its own unique culture and vibe, but all of our campuses have the same high expectations for our students. While the board has been busy this past month making school visits and celebrating student accomplishments in academics, athletics, fine arts, FFA, and more, we also took time to participate in an interactive professional development opportunity with Dr. Roger Cleveland. We worked on having a common understanding of what educational equity is and the process for our upcoming equity audit. Personally, I'm excited to learn more, and I know many of our campuses and departments are also learning more through various initiatives focusing on equity. I'm proud of Cypher ISD and believe our efforts reinforce our commitment to our mission of opportunity for all. Speaking of commitments, you may have heard some chatter about school districts waiting to find out if the state will extend hold harmless this status. And what does this mean to school districts? It means that districts won't be financially penalized for lower attendance due to the impact of the pandemic. Please know that school districts are not asking for more money. These are funds that were already allocated in the last budget cycle. Many school districts like Cypher ISD based this year's school budget for programs and staff on this expected state funding and the expectation of receiving this funding. I am not sure why the TA is delaying a decision or not telling school districts if we are going to receive these funds or not. Some state officials have hinted that we might receive these already allocated funds if we can prove that we're trying to reach out to students whose families chose to keep their kids out of public school this year because of the pandemic. The majority of these students are pre-K and kindergartners, our littlest learners. Frankly, I find it disappointing and inappropriate to insinuate that our administrators, teachers, and principals are not doing everything they can to keep our pre-K and kindergarten programs viable. We know that pre-K and kindergarten establish strong foundations that lead to success, and we see that in our third grade reading levels and even at high school graduation levels. Hopefully, we will find out soon if the state will fully fund our schools this semester as promised. Speaking of the state legislature, they are meeting. It's 140 days that they meet total, and we're already 30 days in. There will be thousands of bills filed, many of which will impact us in public education. Legislation that I'm watching personally has to do with how our schools are funded and testing requirements. There are also some efforts to limit our local school boards and school districts' ability to access our elected officials and the lawmaking process so that we can advocate for our communities. This is concerning because it's an effort to censor our local community voices and is specifically targeted towards small local agencies like school districts. I support local control, and I encourage our elected state legislatures to also support local control. And finally, I just want to give a shout out to Miss Debbie Blackshear. She is truly the matriarch of our FFA programs, the strongest supporter. She shared with me that she was attending her 30th year, or this is the 30th year that she's attending the livestock show and sale. And Debbie, your leadership and your passion and your commitment to our students who participate in FFA is just unmatched, and you've made a difference in the lives of hundreds of students over these years. So thank you for your efforts. We appreciate you.
Thank you, Julie.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Ms. Heineman. Like our other board members, I made visits to Cy Falls High School, the illustrious Golden Eagles, and let me remind you, it is golden, it is not bald, and that was, I was told, over and over again. Becky Denton, principal, is awesome. Deandra Douglas, who's a choral director, was fantastic. And I'll also tell you that I got to visit with a football player, and they had a football challenge. And he took it upon himself to pull in kids that were probably not upper performers and were shy and quiet. And they basically had put together a program where they were competing with all the other football players and becoming more active in their school, more active in their academics, and more active in their soft skills. And that was just a fabulous thing to hear. He's a junior, and I'm very impressed with that young man. Lampkin Elementary Leopards, just a great visit with Gail Parker, who's principal there and has been for quite some time. They were also doing something special and working on soft skills with students, which they had seen reduce discipline problems by an amazing amount. And that was just wonderful to see. And sitting in there and listening to them talk about responsibility and talk about what they are responsible to do. It was wonderful to watch. Holbrook Elementary, the Cougars are on the far east side of our district. In fact, if you drive down Bingle Road, you will pass a bus from Klein, you'll pass a bus from Aldine, you'll pass a bus from HISD, and you'll pass a bus from Cy-Fair. So that's kind of where four districts come together, is right in that area. But I was very, very tickled to meet Becky Mendez, the principal, and watch the Read 180, which Mr. Jackson and I have always thought Read 180 was one of the best programs that we do. I'll also tell you that I listened to the governor's State of the State speech the other night, and one of his first things that he said was, education will not have funds removed or reduced. Now, I take that as he made a promise, so I'm hoping that he's going to stick with that. But he actually made that statement to, probably the 7 or 10 people that were watching on TV that night. But it was awesome to hear that that's going to be one of his priorities. And I'll also tell you that I heard from the Lieutenant Governor as we had a meeting with him with TASB not too long ago, and he made the same comment. Now, he did put a little extra on there and say, all this money we're supposedly getting from the federal government will probably not go to public ed, but will fill the holes at the government level. I don't know what that means, but it sounded like a political statement. Also, I just want to thank all of our board member families who absolutely support us all the time while we're up here at board meetings or if we're visiting schools, or sometimes we just talk about school in our sleep. So I just want to say happy Valentine's Day to all of our families. And now we're going to take a little break, and then we'll come back for citizen participation. Thank you. 5 minutes. 6, citizen participation. Patrons who are duly registered per policy BED local may address the board regarding matters of concern, interest to the district, other than the character of any student, staff, or board member. The board may not act upon any matter that is not listed under the action item portion of the agenda. We have 2 speakers tonight, and number 1 is Mr. Ryan Irving, stepped right out of GQ magazine and coming up to talk to us.
Good evening, Superintendent Henry, President Covey, the Board of Trustees, and to all of the Cy-Fair community. My name is Ryan Irving. I'm a former CFISD student who has lived in the district for 22 years. I'm an honor student and senior at the University of Houston. I'm a COC member, mentor, and an advocate for public education. I'm here today because I've been told that it is not my time to be involved. I've been told I am not a homeowner, and I've been told that I do not contribute to property taxes. First, during my internship for the city of Houston, I experienced a budget 6 times the size of Cy-Fair's, and I know the inner workings of the city's fund balance. The Cy-Fair area has a 9.25% tax rate. When I ran for the board in 2019, the district had a current budget of $969 million, and this year has reached $1 billion. I recognize and understand the district's fund balance as well. I truly believe the perspective of a homeowner on the board is vital, but so are the individuals who are like me who cannot afford to be homeowners. This district is made up of approximately 117,000 plus students and their families. Not every family has the privilege of owning a home. People who live in apartments cannot be discounted and deserve their representation as well. Some of these people living in apartments are your teachers, your school bus drivers, your paraprofessionals, and more. Many are the children of the district and faces you support on a daily basis. Many of your staff members are renting homes. I was raised by a single mother. I watched my mom sleep on the floor. We were almost homeless twice, and just because people like me cannot afford to purchase a home does not mean that we should be discounted. A portion of apartment rent also goes towards our school district. The majority of people that live in apartments are of diverse backgrounds, people that are black and brown, which is a huge part of this district. The Cy-Fair that I know loves anyone no matter their economic status, no matter their zip code, and no matter their color. We are greater when we try to understand and love thy neighbor. It is time to move forward and value the inclusion of all, not block it. I am the face of Cy-Fair and the voice of a student that you have raised. It is my duty to give back and to hold this district accountable for all of the faces in the community. Together, we are CFISD. Strong schools equals strong community. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Donna Lord. That's fine.
Disoriented on this side. Board of Trustees, Dr. Henry. First of all, I want to thank you all for all of the things that you do for the children of Cy-Fair ISD. And tonight, I'd like to personally invite you to commit to take a few minutes out of your day the week of March 2nd to read to a child. On March 2nd, the National Education Association, along with the Texas State Teachers Association and Cy-Fair TSTA NEA, are sponsoring a celebration of reading, NEA's Read Across America. Our goal is to have every child in every school being read to by a caring adult sometime that week. As you know, research has proved that children who read and who are read to daily do better in school. Part of developing that lifelong love of learning is also giving children books with characters who not only represent them, but also represent experiences that are different than theirs. In our diverse and complex society, students need books that provide both windows and mirrors in order for us to create readers, writers, people who are included, who feel recognized, and who understand that the world is much richer than just the experiences that they know. So, we have treasured your support and participation in this program over the years, and we are hoping that you continue to support this program. But more importantly, we're looking forward to seeing who wears the costume this year. So I also would like to invite the public to read to a child during the week of March 2nd. It's going to enhance your life. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lord. We will proceed with the reports portion of the agenda. 7A, the administration will provide a report on the instructional gap created as a result of COVID-19 pandemic. Dr. Linda Macias.
Good evening, President Covey, board members, Dr. Henry. This evening, I'm going to share with you a report that will give you a look into the instructional gaps our students are facing due to the lost instructional time as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. This data that we're sharing was a little limiting because we did not have data to look at from the end of the 2019 and 20 school year. You may remember that about a third of that year, our students were not in the school building. So let's begin by looking at the elementary level data. At the elementary, we were fortunate to have reading levels from January of 2020. And so we went ahead and looked at those reading levels from January 2020, and we looked at the reading levels from our diagnostic tool that we use for January of 2021. So that's about a year span. And we went ahead and matched kids from that January of 2020 to the current kids right now, to see what kind of impact, what kind of instructional gap impact the virus, the pandemic had caused. And so that's what you see up here. And so when you look at the all students, of the students in that group, we have 16% fewer students that are on grade level. At the for the African American group, 19%. For the Hispanic, 18%. The white, 12%, the economic disadvantaged, 19%, and then you can see we try to break it up by the connect and the on-campus students. So you can see that we certainly have a significant gap that has resulted due to the lost instructional time. We try to put a visual as to what did a classroom look like in January or in the 1920 school year as compared to now, and we use the data that we had. So back in the spring of 2020, we had about 77% of our kids who were reading on level. So a classroom, we just took 20 kids to make it easier. A classroom with 20 kids kind of looked like this, the average classroom. So you see the green kids who are on level, and then you see the blue students who have significant gaps. So you can see what a classroom might have looked at, what teachers were having to address as far as concerns. Now, moving forward to now, based on the data, you can see that it's starting to look a little bit different. And that's what I shared with you, I think last month, that our teachers are faced with having to provide additional support, additional activities to be able to meet the needs of that our kids now have because of the instructional loss due to the pandemic. So you can see here you've got more blue, you've got more kids with challenges than you had in the past in those classrooms. This next visual or this next graph is math. And so we did the same thing. We were able to collect some data from math from students in the spring of 2020. We had limited data, but we had some, and we compared it to kids from the diagnostic. And you can see there again, remember these are matched kids. So these are the kids that we had in 2020 in the spring and kids that are still here with us right now. And so you can again see the significant gaps. We have in the all group 18% fewer kids that are on grade level target. And you can see our African American and our Hispanic and our economic advantage are the lowest groups. We have significant gaps that we have to be working on and building and supporting there. So that's our math in our paired groups. And so we did the same thing with the visual to show the classroom. So a classroom, an average classroom in the spring of 2020 before the pandemic hit, you can see the number of students in that classroom with significant instructional gaps and challenges. As compared to now, you can see that has grown, almost doubled. And so there are certainly many challenges that our teachers are working through to be able to support our students. Now, we do have some good news to share. We went back and looked at those same students that we matched for reading, for their reading levels. But this time, instead of looking at spring, January of 2020 to January of 2021, we just looked at what was happening in this school year, August of 2020 to January of 2021. And we were happy to see that we're starting to make some gains with our students. So that's what this chart is showing, that in the all students, we're starting to see a 9% increase in the number of students that are on grade level. If you look at the African American and the other groups, you can see the percent that our kids are growing. And I'm going to tell you that all is because of our teachers and the work that they are doing. They are doing everything they can with our Connect students, our face-to-face students. They're tutoring, they're supporting in every way possible to make sure that our students are making the progress and that they're closing that gap that has occurred. Now, from here on, the graphs that I'm going to share with you are all based on the diagnostic tool that we provided. It wasn't the benchmark that we are accustomed to provide for students at mid-year. It was simply to give us a look at how are we doing with the standards, with the texts that were taught in the fall semester. How are our kids doing? Are they on grade level target or on target to pass their course? And so this is elementary math. So this is not a comparison now. This is just solely on the diagnostic. So if you look at the elementary math, you can see that 63% of our students are on grade level target. And then you can continue on through the chart. You see, again, that our African American, and our Hispanic and our economic disadvantaged students are in the 50%. So we have a lot of work, a lot of growth to provide there. Now let's take a look at the secondary. And again, the secondary look will be totally specifically on that diagnostic instrument. So the number of students who are showing mastery at 70% or higher on the standards that were taught in the fall semester. I want to first start by sharing with you what our secondary passing rates and failure rates were for the second reporting period. Remember, the second reporting period for secondary ended at in December, before the winter break. For elementary, it didn't end until the end of January. So just today I got that information. So you can see, if you look at the first column for the secondary second reporting period, you can see that overall, Connect, face-to-face, altogether, 75% of our students were passing all courses, but 25% are failing one or more. And so that's certainly a concern. And you can see a comparison there to the 1920 school year. If you look at the second column, you see our Connect students. And you can see that 64% of them are passing all courses, but 36% are failing one or more courses. And then when you look at the on-campus, at 82% passing all courses, 18% failing, it's clear to see that our students that are in the classroom are doing better than our virtual students. So now let's take a look at the diagnostic information. And so this is middle school for math. And so you can see that 66% of our middle school students are on target, so they scored 70% or higher as far as mastery on the standards that were taught in the fall. And you can again see where our African American, our economic disadvantaged students are again in the 50%. So that's been consistent throughout all the data that we pull. So we know we have a lot of work to do. That was for English language arts. This is for math. So you can see that math is lower. When you look at the overall, math is at 49%. You see the African American and the economic disadvantage low. And you know, I've shared before that our teachers, I said, are doing a fantastic job, but there's a lot of missed instructional time just because of the situation that we're in. Our teachers have their face-to-face students. When they have their Connect students, they're doing small groups. They've got the groups going in their classroom. They have their groups going virtually, and it takes time to go from group to group to group. And so there is a lot of lost instructional time that is occurring. Next, let me just also say that in this middle school math, this does not include our Algebra 1 middle schoolers. And you know, as Mr. Thomas pointed out, there are many kids that are in Algebra 1, 40% are in Algebra. So they're not in these numbers. If you look at this slide, this is Algebra 1. This includes all Algebra 1 students, the ones in middle school and the ones in high school as well. And so again, you can see that we have a lot of work to do in this area as well. And you can see again, consistently again, where the African American, Hispanic, and our economic disadvantaged students. A lot of support needed. Biology, you can see again that we only had 53% of all of our students who were showing mastery at 70%. And then you can see how our other groups are doing as well. And then English 1 and English 2 actually look a little better. So you can see for all, we're at 60%. And then, but again, you can see the consistency there with our African American, Hispanic, and our economically disadvantaged students. And then English 2, it's looking a little bit better. Now, you may be thinking, wow, these EOC, because these are EOC tested courses that I just talked about, and you may be thinking, what's going to happen with our students because STAR or EOCs are still in play for graduation requirements for our students. However, this data that I shared with you, again, is at 70% or higher as our passing score. STAR has a lower passing score that they use for their data. So we went back and we looked, okay, so we applied the STAR passing data, well, what would it look like? And that's what this next, I'm sorry, I forgot U.S. history, but thank you for this one. So you can see that when we apply the STAR passing score, you can see that the data goes up significantly for our students as far as being able to pass the EOC. So I believe you will agree that these data are certainly indicating that the lost instructional time due to the COVID-19 pandemic has indeed created some significant learning gaps for our students. I heard a presenter that called it not so much gaps as much as unfinished learning. They just they have not had the opportunity to have all the instruction, the learning that needs to be occurring. But we did go back and just provide you with just a few of the initiatives that we have in place that we are working on now and will continue to work on to address these gaps as a district. As I said, our teachers have done a fabulous job. Our administrators are calling and doing visits. Our curriculum team is providing interactive lessons so our teachers can use to help them with that gap. So first of all, I listed the closing the gap time. You may remember that we pulled some time together, and so we've got that going. We're going to continue that through the next year as well. Summer school, again, will be available to any child who is not being successful at no cost to our parents. We did that last year. We're going to do it again for our students who are needing support, and even those who just want to feel like they need a little bit more, even though they're being successful. We have some of our schools who are doing extended summer opportunities beyond the summer school time that we're providing, specifically our monitored schools. We have tutoring that is occurring in person and virtual. Many of our schools are providing even Saturday sessions so that our students can get as much support as they possibly can. Some of them are calling it Recovery Saturday. So students who are failing classes can get online, they can work with their teachers and get them to be successful on the assignments and activities that they need to be turning in. We have reading transition specialists that work with students that are new to Cy-Fair who are reading below grade level, and the process has been that they work with that group for 1 year and then we move them on. We're keeping them for 2 years to make sure that we are bridging those gaps that have been created. Through Schoology, we have many resources for students and parents that are addressing the texts that students have not mastered, and this includes resources for parents to be able to use to be able to support their students at home. We have schools who are providing resources that parents can pick up specifically for the EOC classes, so they can have some of that paper activities that they may need. I mentioned home visits and virtual visits. These are being conducted ongoing by our campus leaders and teachers, not just for our students who are struggling, but also those that we haven't been able to find. They continue to do that. You may have seen the mobile library out. In the summer, it's out during the week, but during the school year, it's only out during the weekend. But right now, it's out during the week because we are supporting our kids, our Connect kids, so that they can check out library books. We also have implemented a spring credit recovery for students who failed their fall semester. Typically, they would wait until the summer to try to recover that. But instead, we are providing them the opportunity through our digital credit recovery program. But they are being provided tutoring and support before they actually get on the credit recovery program to make sure that they are going to be successful. Our psychological services department is continuing with virtual planning sessions, not just to support students, for parents to support their students in a virtual learning environment, but also with the day-to-day behavior so that they can be successful while they are getting their instruction in a virtual manner. And then our remote learning days, I shared with you what a classroom is looking like now. And so those remote learning days, I think our teachers in the audience, I hope will agree that those have been critical in working to plan and prepare to address the enormous needs that our students are having that they need to address. And through next year, we have, y'all may recall, we implemented, based on the calendar committee's recommendation, 5 teacher work days so that our teachers can continue that planning and preparation to address these needs. This week, each campus will receive their own data of the diagnostic so that they can see what that data looks like and they can plan and prepare to address those achievement gaps. That concludes my report, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Okay. Mrs. Arabia, do you have anything?
Linda, absolutely revealing report and absolutely done very well. I, for one, going back to the campus visits, got to see the teachers in action in the classrooms, and you're saying exactly what it is. They have online and face-to-face, and they are hustling the whole time. And walking through the campuses, you can see them. They were, here, paying attention to the students, working the laptop and stuff, and they're actually, it was outstanding seeing the educators perform their duties. Like you said, it's not easy, and it's challenging, and it's going to be challenging the rest of the year and stuff. So, but congratulations, great job.
Mr. Jackson.
Thank you for the report. I wish STAR testing was like this, where they would give us diagnostic information that we could use to go back and enhance attainment for our students. Maybe you can work on that, Mark. I find the information very encouraging, Linda. This is so much better than my concerns suggested, particularly after reading about some of our neighboring districts and the information they had released to the press. I was waiting with bated breath to see the numbers. So they aren't where we'd like them to be, but y'all have built a very solid foundation, and I think there's a lot of information in here for both senior management, but most particularly at the campus level, to be very, very proud of. On one of my campus visits, I heard about them getting ready to start on Saturday school. The timing of that, of course, you had to wait on just the right time. We had a number of issues health-wise to address. We are proceeding. One of the lessons that Ann Wilcox, Robbie Sheridan's daughter, tried to teach me is she said that mobile teachers teach better generally than teachers at a desk. Because of safety protocols, our teachers are tied to a desk, with a couple of exceptions. Some I saw in the hallway where they had all virtual children. Others I saw clustered in a corner in a classroom they shared with others, but also just with virtual children. So does that have an impact of why our numbers for in-classroom are down when we think about our end-of-course exams compared to last year?
Well, certainly you're correct. Our teachers are used to being very mobile in the classrooms, and they walk around and check on students, and when they have virtual students along with face-to-face students, they've got to make sure that they are in an area where the virtual students are going to be able to also see their teaching. So they're not as they are not as mobile as they typically are in a classroom. So yes, I would say that does have some impact as well.
You did mention that we're going to have an expanded summer school offering, and really you've touched a number of different areas, just about all the buttons you can come up with to push to offer additional opportunities for our students. Remind me as to whether or not our SSI initiative during the summertime, is that successful for our students in the past, or does it just maintain?
Our summer school programs, as well as the SSI program, are certainly impactful in the summer. Mr. Jackson, you're one that knows the summer slide and the concerns with that. And so anytime we can provide additional support, additional instruction for our students, specifically in literacy and math, that's going to help support reducing the summer slide, where our students aren't sliding back reading levels or math attainment, but they're actually able to at least maintain or move forward.
Two of our pride and joys, at least for me when I look at the numbers, one is U.S. history, because our end-of-course rates are in the mid-90s, which is amazing. That's probably as high as it realistically ever could be. So I see a slight drop-off because it's in the mid-80s. But also over in algebra, our scores are off the chart. And here it seemed like we had more of a slip. Do we anticipate that the additional steps that you've taken Do we expect them to get us back to where we were, or is that going to be more like a 2-year process?
I do believe it's going to be a 2-year process for us to work through all the gaps that our students have. But I want to remind you again that the data that I shared regarding the EOCs is based on a 70% or higher mastery level, where STAR is not that high. So you will see our algebra scores much higher than what it is at the 70%.
And then my final question, here we have all the data combined. Are we seeing what you see in the press as being regarded as a K-level gap, where the gap is wider when we compare our Title I schools to our non-Title I schools?
Well, I think if you notice the economically disadvantaged numbers, and as you know, our Title I schools, that's what their numbers are based on, and you see how low they are as compared to some of our other groups. Yes, they certainly are lower. You saw African American numbers. I was sharing with Dr. Ogletree that as I was looking at the data, I went back to look at the percent of students who are in getting face-to-face instruction versus virtual instruction. And we have 38% of our African-American students who are still in a virtual setting and not face-to-face. And so we see from the data that the face-to-face is providing more success than the virtual is.
And I said that was my last question, but you know, for me, that's never my last question. In the fall semester, y'all came to us and requested us to give you permission to relax scope and sequence, but also more significantly to do away with finals. We still had to give the EOCs, but relax the finals. And the unspoken purpose was to permit additional instruction time. The data's come in. Looking back on it, from looking at the data, would you consider that in retrospect that was a good decision, or do you wish that we had gone a different route?
When I look at the data for the passing rate and the failure rate for the second reporting period, which is where the finals fell, I would say that was a good decision. It allowed for additional instructional time and supports for students to be able to get to the passing level.
The data is, as I said, very encouraging, and I hope when we look at it from an evaluative perspective, that you all find it to be encouraging as well. This is so much better than my concern. One final question, and maybe this is not the time to answer it, but I'll ask, and if it's not the right time, we can bring it up at another point in time. We've invested a tremendous amount of resources, both monetary but also staff resources, in building a curriculum into a digital framework. Is there a value to this going forth?
Schoology was not only purchased to provide a virtual opportunity during this time. Schoology was a system that we had begun looking at to assist us with more blended learning, with more opportunities to be able to provide more personalized instruction for our students. So you have the teacher providing the mini lesson or the lesson to the whole group, and then the teacher is able to push out through Schoology different assignments at levels that the students may need. So that certainly is a positive, that we have a system that can do that, and now that we will be a one-to-one school district, what an awesome benefit for our students.
Thank you.
Just to add to that, Mr. Jackson, we know from research that time on task is one of the biggest things that we can do to help improve student attainment. So through our one-to-one program, we're going to have much more time on task. So when the teacher stops talking, the kid leaves the classroom, the learning can continue.
Ms. Blackshear.
One question before I make some comments. Will summer school be in person and virtual?
Yes, that is what we're planning for at this time, that summer, we will offer face-to-face summer school, but we will also offer virtual opportunities for students who choose not to come face-to-face.
And will it be as it has been in past years? Will it be certain schools that will offer the summer school program? For example, it won't be at all high schools, but several high schools?
That is correct. We base the locations for summer school based on what Roy has going on as far as,
Construction?
building. Yes. And so we base it on that, but as you know, it doesn't matter the high school, all students are invited to attend summer school if they need the support.
I love that. Just a few comments, similar to what Mr. Jackson and Mr. Sarabia have talked about. In the school visits, it has been it has amazed me, but then not again, because I believe our teachers are the best teachers in the state and probably in the nation. But how well our teachers have adapted and embraced the virtual and the in-person instruction. And I know several teachers I have talked with talked about how it sparked their creativity, because they, as they went about it, they had to become very creative and how they could do it both at the same time. And I know there have been, many hours put in by our teachers and paras, and I know that it has not been easy by any stretch of the imagination, but I just love that they are all so excited about having their students back in person and being able to see their smiling faces, and that they are striving so hard to give both the virtual students and the in-person students the same educational experience. And I just think that speaks so highly of our teachers, their love for their students and their dedication to the district. And I think without that, these numbers would not be as good as they are. While we would like to see them higher, I think those numbers are very, very good and speak highly to our teachers. I get really sad and concerned when I think about the kids in Chicago public schools who have not been to school in probably 10 months maybe, and how far behind academically they must be. And I just applaud you, Dr. Henry, and your cabinet for working so hard to enable our students to be back in school, because I think we are in a much better place than many others around the nation. And thank you, Linda, and to your curriculum department. I know y'all have put in a lot of hours, and it's paid off. Thank you.
Just one thing, Ms. Blackshear, and certainly I appreciate the compliments, but I'm going to tell you, our campus folks, they're the ones that have made it happen, along with our operations departments. From it was a team effort, and I know if I start naming departments, I'm going to forget one. But just the technology it's just been outstanding.
I realize we couldn't have done it without all of them.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Ms. Blackshear. Mr. Ryan?
Hey, Linda, on the last page where you've got closing the gap initiatives, I know one deal that y'all were doing that was very successful was Camp Summit, and we're still going to do that?
Absolutely. We'll do it face-to-face, and we're also going to find a way to do it virtually for students who are not able to come to the face-to-face environment.
And then I'm really pleased that we're offering summer school at no cost to parents, especially when you look at how COVID's impacted so many families financially. So I'm thrilled that we're able to do that. How how are we broadcasting that to our parents and notifying our parents of, hey, we've got spring credit recovery, Camp Summit, summer school, all these things that are no cost to you. How are we broadcasting those to the community so that they're aware of, especially when you get to be our size? I know it's difficult.
The communications department will help us with making sure that that is promoted, but we also will, for our virtual learners, it'll be in Schoology. And one great thing that our campuses, our teachers actually did last year is that they did personal phone calls. They made personal phone calls to our families about the programs that we had and encouraging them to sign up.
Because clearly we knew we were going to have a gap, and I agree with the comment Tom said, it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. And I know it varies from campus to campus, but I think the more we can publicize these initiatives, the quicker we can close that gap. Because oftentimes, when you've got kids in elementary, middle, and high, if they're all spaced out like that, and you've got children in multiple schools, it's sometimes difficult to hear about a lot of the opportunities that are available to our students and their families. So I hope that we have a strong focus on marketing these programs to our community, because I think it's going to have a powerful impact on them.
And we will.
So
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Ryan. Dr. Ogletree?
Thank you, Linda, for this report. It is encouraging, the steps and the things that we've taken. I'm wondering, though, along the lines of what Mr. Ryan has mentioned, we have how many weeks left in this spring semester?
How many weeks? Well, we have
12.
Yeah.
12 weeks. I'm wondering, would it help at all? I know what we have going in the summer, but would it help us if we try to really communicate as best we can to get that 38% or that percentage that's not in on our campus to come back and maybe show the mask that students are wearing, the distancing, maybe have some statements from parents or whatever. I'm just wondering, should we just wait till the summer and just hope, or could we give something, a push or something because in-class, in-person instruction is it. And so that's my thought on one.
Dr. Ogletree, you're exactly right, and we couldn't agree more. I know we've been having lots of discussions about this and really concerned about that percentage of our students that have remained virtual this entire year. We are going to be sending out a survey next week, I believe, that we're really trying to find out what the plans, thoughts, concerns are of those parents who have kept their children virtual. But we can definitely add another layer of trying to encourage them to come back before the end of the school year. It's just that delicate balance of trying to also recognize, the decisions that parents are making to keep their students home for health and safety reasons, and then the social distancing that teachers are trying to create in their classrooms as well. So it's just trying to find that balance and trying to support all those areas the best that we can. But we are sending out a survey next week. As a matter of fact, we have a meeting tomorrow to kind of finalize that, share it with the principals on Thursday, and then launch that next week.
And just to add to that, Dr. O, just so you know that our campuses are continuously calling any of our students that are struggling and talking to parents and trying to get them to come back. Every time we have a new reporting period, parents can elect to change the learning environment for their students. But even if a parent in between that reporting period wants to bring their child back, our schools are working with them.
Yeah, I know we're doing that. I'm wondering, though, sometimes a visual to ensure safety protocols and those type of things helps, to go along with a call, just to let them see.
We agree, and actually, that's going to be part of our marketing materials as well, even for the pre-K and K kids, and trying to make certain that we recruit them back. But we can, we have a meeting tomorrow, and we can talk about increasing our efforts for the remainder of this year with those students that have remained virtual.
More? You okay?
Okay.
Okay. Ms. Heineman.
Thank you for the report, Linda. We've obviously have been anxiously awaiting to have some data around what some people would say learning losses. I like the unfinished learning perspective that our kiddos are surviving a pandemic. Our teachers are surviving a pandemic. They're all working so hard. And so while they may not be where they would be if we were not in a pandemic, we know that we can get them where they need to be. So we've had this gut feel. Obviously, you've heard from the board that there was an expectation that the failure rates would be higher based on what we've heard in the media around the country. It is important to have good data versus just a gut feel. So I appreciate that. I think what we've also seen is that we don't necessarily need a high stakes test like STAR to get the data, right? We can use our teacher assessments are valuable and actually are more relevant to us as educators and as parents because we can use that data from a diagnostic standpoint, as Mr. Jackson said, and we can implement strategies, right, in the classroom versus waiting for a high stakes test to be given at the end of the year where we don't get the results until the summer. So this is valuable and it's locally driven with our teachers and our staff. So I appreciate that. Something that my initial response to those gaps, the gaps between the different subpopulations, those are the gaps we saw before the pandemic between subpops. So
they're just not they were just not as significant.
Right,
as yes.
Right. So we know we have work to do, right? I will say that we already have extraordinary efforts being done in our classrooms and on our campuses by our teachers and our campus staff. Personally, as a parent, I've seen the teachers step up and just work so incredibly hard and look at each individual student and what they need to help them make up those losses, whether it's because they've had to stay home because they're quarantined or they're struggling with online learning or just struggling with learning in general. Our teachers are making extraordinary efforts every day. I see that with my own child and also with students that I mentor. I think it's important just to remember we need to be patient, that we can't put more pressure on our teachers because they're already making these extraordinary efforts. We have to be patient with the process and put together programs to support the learning. Does that make sense? Which I know that's what your plans are, so I appreciate that. We don't want to feel our teachers to feel like they need to be doing more and working harder, because that's not the case. We just need to put together programs to support our students and then be patient and let that play out. We've been in this pandemic for a year. It's going to take at least a year to make up, right? So we need to be patient and have some grace with teachers and parents and students. So.
And so our goal this year was, we've shared with our teachers on our campuses, is that gap, is not passing the STAR, that hopefully that'll take care of itself, but just continuing to work on making those little strides to close the gap. And it is our teachers, I will agree. They have been fantastic in what they were doing, and I believe in them. And we're going to get our kids back to where they need to be. It's going to be them. They're the ones that are going to be able to do it because they're our Cypher teachers. They believe in that too.
We're so blessed with our teachers and our campus leaders and everyone who works with our kids. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Heineman. Mine's very brief, Linda. It's a great report, and it is better than most of us expected. So you and I talked at one time, and I asked you if you were looking at, and you just told Tom it would be probably 2 years, but you had mentioned you thought it might be 3 to 4 years to be able to work on bringing everybody back up to the level where we were, and that y'all were putting together some robust curriculums to be able to address that.
We're hoping 2 years,
Okay.
Mr. Covey, to get our students back to where they were in the last full year we had, which was the 18-19 school year. So that's really the last full data that we have. And so we're hoping that we can continue working on these gaps to get at least back to that point and then move forward. But we've got to get back to the point we were at before we can move forward.
Mr. Covey, just to add to that, it's going to take a lot of time, and when it takes more time, it takes more professional staff. So we're hoping the money has been allocated by the federal government to the state through the CARES funding, and then there's going to be additional funding. So if the state will pass that to local school districts so that we can make sure that our teachers have more time with our students after school with tutoring through the summer, weekends, whatever it takes, we can close it much quicker.
One final question is, we're looking at graduation season coming up here in May. And so are we looking at, are we looking at adjusting so that kids are not held back because of this being at home and like that? I'm not sure how to state that. I'm just a little concerned that maybe we're losing some kids and they won't graduate in May and it may have to go to August.
Well, we have the EOC that's pending, because that's still in play for them for graduation, but we also have the IGC, individual graduation plans.
Right.
But they at least have to pass a couple of their EOC, so they've got that part. Then the other part is passing their courses. And I can tell you that my team, the campuses, they are all focused on their seniors.
Okay.
And they're all focused on providing that support to be able to redo assignments and assessments for kids that are failing to get them to the crossing line.
Okay, thank you. And this to the listening community out there, what you heard Dr. Henry say was that there would be, are hopeful that there are federal dollars that are going to be coming in to help us address some of these issues. And yet I've heard from Lieutenant Governor Patrick that don't expect that money from the federal government to get down to education. So if you have the will to, please contact your legislatures and tell them how important it is that that money comes into education so that we can bring it up to the level that we were before. That's just my statement. Thank you, Dr. Macias. We're going to skip 7B, and we're going to go to 7C. The administration will provide a design development update report on the progress of the design of new elementary school number 57 within the Bridgeland Master Planned Community. Presenters are Mr. Matt Morgan and Dan Gross.
President Covey.
That's all right.
President Covey, Dr. Henry, members of the board.
All right. When's your evaluation? It's coming up soon?
It's coming up pretty soon.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. I'll look forward to that. Thank you. Thank you for allowing us the opportunity to present an updated report on the design development of Elementary 57. Texas IBI Group is the architect on this project, and they have done an outstanding job, especially in the design of this facility, especially with all the extenuating circumstances we've had this past year. Mark French is here with us tonight with representatives from IBI, so I'm going to turn it over to him for the presentation.
And I can take this off, right? President Covey, members of the board, and Dr. Henry, we're really excited to be able to partner with Cyfair ISD again on Elementary 57. I do have a couple of team members that were critical to this project with me tonight. Andy Simpson, principal, and Derek Bankson, project manager for this particular project. And we'd like to begin by thanking the board and the administration for giving us this opportunity for this exciting project. and the acknowledgement of all the administrators and the team leaders and the district personnel that have contributed their time, their effort, their insight during the design of this project. One thing I will point out, that this project started after COVID. So this has been a completely virtual designed facility, which is just kind of a fun fact. As Matt mentioned, this project is in Bridgeland Master Plan Development. It's in a section called Parkland Village. And just to kind of quickly orient you of where the site is at, the red star is where Elementary 57 site is located. Off to the left, bordered on the left of your screen there, is the Grand Parkway. And that kind of gray oval is the Bridgeland High School, Wells Middle School 20 Education Village site. And the reason I point that out is that if you recall back in 2014 time when that project was in design concept, the master plan for the Bridgeland development has a bike pedestrian pathway that runs through the section of the development that's indicated by that green arrow. That pedestrian and bike pathway actually connects these two education sites. So it is important. So a little bit about the actual Elementary 57 site. Bordered on the north is Tuckerton Boulevard. Off to the left of your screen is Summer Camp Drive, and off to the right is called Copper Breaks Crossing. Now, Copper Breaks Crossing, if you go just a bit to the north, if you've been in that development at all, is a community center called Dragonfly Park. And that's important because it has set the architectural vocabulary for this particular section of the development. I'll come back to that in a second. Tuckerton is a boulevarded thoroughfare, so it's one of the major crossing arteries through Bridgeland development. There is no access to the Elementary 57 site for safety reasons from that roadway. Off to the right on Copper Breaks Crossing will be the access for the visitor and the special needs bus loop. They're off to your right. And then off to the left will be the bus access and the delivery access for the campus. I'm going to jump into the plan in just a second, but just to point out some features that you'll see on the site plan that are relative to the floor plan itself. The two wings that are to the north are classroom wings, and there is a learning courtyard that's located between those two. And then the wing to the far bottom right is also another academic wing. On the first floor, it's mainly your pre-kindergarten and kindergarten. And you see the lighter blue square that's off to the right, that's a proposed possible alternate that would add an additional 4 pre-K classrooms to the facility. The block that's off to the top right hand is the administration and the library that forms the main entry for the facility. They have a lot of passive supervision through visual control of the visitors coming in at the visitor parking lot. And then off to the south, on the bottom left of the screen, is actually the cafeteria, the gymnasium, and the kitchen. There's another additional courtyard between the academic and the cafeteria wing, but students that are dropped off at that bus loop and staff entering can either enter directly into the PE space, the cafeteria, or enter the main corridor that bisects the campus. One thing to point out from a security standpoint, the entire southern section of the site is bordered by that line that is a security fence. You'll see the paved play area, the running track, and some play areas, but you'll also notice a planned area for future portables should they be needed in the future. The two wings to the north there's also another secure fence that connects those two wings to enclose that secure outdoor learning space. And to jump into the floor plan, the kind of bright blue areas are your classroom, and you can see the three wings that are developed, with the lower section being the pre-kindergarten and kindergarten. Each of those rooms has its own restroom facility. The other two wings, you'll see the dark gray area on each of the wings. That's a self-enclosed restroom space for each of the wings. They also have teacher workroom space as well as a flex room. Every wing in the facility is able to be isolated off for security as a second layer after the secure vestibule, and then each pair of classrooms can be secured as well, but still leave it open for team teaching. Off to the far right in the salmon color is the administration that I spoke of that has visual control of the entrance. The large purple block there to the left is the library, and in between there is the main entry for the building. That's where the secure vestibule and the reception would be. Once you enter that, then the circulation is in the yellow. The area just below the entrance of the administration and library, there in pink, is some of the special needs classrooms as well as the special needs work area. It's located so it has easy access to the clinic, the library, as well as direct access to the right out the corridor to the bus loop for the special needs buses as well. In between the two academic wings in the green is a pair of science classrooms, and there's two upstairs as well. These two can have direct access out to the learning courtyard. And then off to the far left, the PE space in orange, and the light blue is the cafeteria with the stage, and just above or just south of the green science rooms is music and art, and music has the ability to actually open to the back of the stage without disturbing the cafeteria for practice performances. Second floor academically is a repeat of the first floor, except that the far right wing is just standard classrooms with a restroom facility in that wing as well, and you'll see the two science classrooms up on the second floor, and they overlook the learning courtyard. Each of the wings also on the north in that kind of the darker yellow is actually a flex space, a flex classroom for each of those spaces behind a secure wall. Speaking to the architecture, as I mentioned, this is in the Parkland Village. The image on the right is one of the main entry signs into Parkland Village in the Brisbane development. And then the two images on the bottom are of Dragonfly Park and that community center. And we're picking up on some of those influences as part of the community. As most of the designs, we try to respect the fabric that's in the community and the architectural vocabulary, and this is no different. So Elementary 57, the entrance, the large dominant space there in the center. Off to the right is the library, and the left is the main entry for the facility. The one-story wings to the left is the administration. You can see the windows looking out, monitoring the ingress and egress of visitors, and a two-story section off to the right over where the flags are located is one of the academic wings. And coming around to the other side of the building, you begin to see the two academic wings, the learning courtyard, a glimpse of some of the embedded learning elements that are there to support curriculum, as well as the bus loop. And then off in the shadow on the far right is actually the PE space with the cafeteria tucked behind that. Some of the interior images of the library. Library is a large, open, very flexible space. Everything in there is intended to be mobile. The shelving units are mobile, the furniture is mobile, a very fluid space that can be changed as needed for instruction, staff development, library time. There's collaboration space as the libraries change. Back in the corner, you can see areas for student and teacher collaboration. And then an area inside, just outside the library, but in one of the main circulation spaces. It's a open stairwell that goes up to the second floor as primary access. There's also stairwells in each of the wings that has a view out to the courtyard, a small collaboration space under that stair, and then a dedicated area for display of student work that's in close proximity to art and some of the other fine art programs. As far as some quick project information, the student capacity of the base building as design matches the standard elementary program for Cyfair of 1,092 students. If we add the pre-K alternate, which is 4 classrooms, that would increase to 1,180. And then if with the pre-K and the additional 8 portable buildings, which add another 8 classrooms of instructional space, you could achieve a capacity on-site of 1,532. The detention for this facility is actually a regional detention facility within Bridgeland. They have several that are dedicated. One of them is, this site is dedicated to. The building is actually over 3 feet above the 500-year floodplain. It's actually, we believe, is going to be sitting about 4.3 when it's all said and done. And some health and wellness things as far as indoor air quality, we are matching ASHRAE 62.1. Just to give you an example, as far as air changes in a classroom space in this facility, there are 100% air changes occurring every like 9.2 minutes. And 40% of that is fresh, pre-treated outside air. We are using enhanced filtration, MERV 13, which is something that the CDC recommends, and it also is in compliance with some of our CHIPS criteria for this facility. And the facility materials have been selected for obviously cleanability and ease of sanitation. Schedule for this facility, we intend to be coming back to the board for a recommended contract award to a contractor in April, and construction would start immediately thereafter in late April, early May, with substantial completion in June, with FF&E furniture and things of that nature occurring over the summer for occupancy in August of 2022. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank
or
you,
if
sir.
I can't answer them, these guys can.
Okay. I'm just going to ask. Raise your hand if you have a question. Anybody? Everybody's okay right now? Oh, I'm sorry, Tom.
One area that you did not touch on, but I know it's been addressed, we have greater reliance upon technology, and we will continue in the future to place even more reliance upon it. Have your designs taken that into account in providing sufficient flexibility as well as throughput to answer those needs?
Yes, the entire facility, the density of technology access, especially on the wireless front, has been growing and as the facilities come online, and this one is no different. The density is higher than the previous facilities, and the throughput and the infrastructure is there to support future learning needs and expandability.
Thank you.
Mark, and I had trouble on the drawing of, I know where Tuckerton is, but how far is this elementary school from, say, Wells Elementary School, which is in the Bridgeland area, the Bridgeland High School?
As the crow flies,
okay,
is probably about a mile and a half, I would say.
Yeah. But there's large development going on right in there.
There's a significant amount. Yeah. So Tuckerton is not 100%, but Copper Breaks Crossing, where I mentioned the Dragonfly Park, that's the closest road you can come down where it intersects Tuckerton. You can get a feel for where this site is.
Okay.
But everything below in this area is under development at this point.
Yeah, I had it in my mind, but I wasn't sure.
I know you can't tell by looking at me, but I jog through that area. And there's
it's all downhill.
There's houses everywhere back there, and clearing land, and I hope this is enough elementary schools for Bridgeland. May not be.
They're building them pretty fast up there.
Well, we appreciate the presentation. Interesting, a little bit of facial hair, buddy.
Yeah, well, it's easier than shaving one-handed. Thank you.
Thank y'all. 7D, the administration will provide a design development update report on the progress of the design of new elementary school number 58 in the Southwest CFISD along Clay Road. Once again, Mr. Morgan, you got the name good?
I thought you let him go.
We'll see what he does.
President Covey.
Thank you. You're here. Okay.
Dr. Henry, members of the board, thank you for allowing us to present an update on the design development of Elementary 58 as well. 58 is our architect is PBK. They too have done an outstanding job as always, especially under these trying circumstances. Eric Smith is here with his team, and I'd like to turn it over to Mr. Smith. Eric.
President Covey, Dr. Henry, members of the board, we're really excited to be here tonight to walk through this design development presentation with you. I want to start by just first thanking the whole facilities team, all the departmental staff, all the people that have been a huge part of this with us. It has been quite a journey, and the presentation you see tonight wouldn't be where it is without all their help. I have Sarah Stolting with me tonight. She's a associate with our firm, huge part of our Cy-Fair team, and she's also a product of Cy-Fair. So I'm going to let her walk through the presentation with you tonight.
Earrings, I'm sorry.
Don has the same problem.
All right, well, thank you, Eric, President Covey, Dr. Henry. This is Elementary 58. Tonight we'll be talking about the site plan and floor plans of Elementary School 58, the classroom pod configuration, the healthy educational environments, which is COVID-19, exterior and interior design, as well as the project schedule. For the exterior context plan, Elementary 58 is located off of Highway 99 and Clay Road. Its closest intersection, major intersection, is Fry Road and Clay Road. It's on the kind of edge of Cy-Fair ISD. It's very close to Katy ISD, actually. Zooming in just a little bit, its direct intersection is Clay Road and Elm Tree Dale Road. On the top left side of your screen, you'll actually see M. Robinson Elementary School, very close to this one. Also in the area, we have some existing neighborhoods and residential developments, as well as quite a few future residential developments. As I mentioned, you are very close to Katy. In the bottom right corner, you can see a Katy Elementary School, so it's right down Clay Road, very close. Jumping into Elementary 58 site plan, you'll see on our pizza slice shape site, as we call it, the building is located kind of just in the middle of it. Along the south side on Clay Road, we have our main parent drop-off and stacking area that drops off students at the front of the building. We also have our main visitor parking lot at the front of the building as well. Just north of that, we have the main staff parking lot, as well as the bus drop-off with a covered entry to get students into the cafeteria, as well as the special education loop with covered entry to get students into the main entry of the building. On this site, we also have a 1/8 mile concrete walking track, a hardtop play surface, room for 8 future portables, PE play fields, and at the top corner of the site, you will see a future community park, which will serve as student play fields in the meantime. Also on this site, you actually won't see a detention pond. Similar to Elementary 57, there is no detention on this site. It's all off-site, and it is not in a floodplain. Closer to the south part of the building, you'll see 3 outdoor learning areas. These are actually teaching spaces where students and teachers can come outside and have some outdoor learning, as well as a learning courtyard with a water trough, cistern, and a future garden. Before I jump into the floor plans, we'll touch quickly on the student capacity. The base building will house 1,092 students. We also have a pre-KK capacity alternate that I will talk about briefly in a second, as well as the capacity for the 8 future portables that I touched on. This will allow the total capacity of the building to be 1,532 students. So we'll start at the red arrow at the bottom of the screen, which is the main entry of the building that takes you into the secure vestibule. Going just kind of straight up that corridor, we've got a lot of our public spaces. We've got the library, gymnasium, music classroom and art classroom, as well as the dining and stage area and the kitchen. This is all really the louder spaces that we've kept separate from all of the classroom areas. On the horizontal of the plan, we have the main administrative offices, first grade classroom pod, second grade classroom pod, the pre-KK pod, science labs, as well as special education. And also, the bottom left, the pre-KK alternate that I mentioned, this is a 4-classroom alternate that we are pricing separately in hopes of incorporating into the final building. Up on the second floor, almost identical, we've got the 3rd grade, 4th grade, and 5th grade pods, as well as additional science labs and resource classrooms. So we'll jump into the classroom pod configurations. With this, I'm going to show quite a few diagrams that talk about the security of each individual classroom pod. You'll see that there's 3 pods per floor with 1 major corridor serving all 3 of them, similar 1st and 2nd floor. Zooming into 1 individual pod, this red line will represent that main corridor that I referenced. When designing these pods, the main goal was to have these pods almost be like self-sustaining pods that students could go about their day safely, but have everything that they need. So each pod has 2 entry and exit points from the main corridor, as well as an entry-exit point to the outdoor teaching elements and PE spaces. So housed in this pod are obviously classrooms, student and faculty restrooms, support spaces, and a teacher workroom. At the heart of this pod, we have a flex area in every single classroom pod. And what was nice about this is your pod is closed off. So it's a flexible space, but you're not exposing students to any kind of unsafe location. Also in these pods, we wanted the classrooms to be able to open up and combine classrooms and have larger group instruction spaces. So we have folding partitions in between classrooms that allow for expanded space, as well as folding partitions that combine classrooms with the flex area for a much larger group instruction spaces. Very similar in the pre-K kindergarten. We've got our corridor at the north with the 2 secure entry and exit points, as well as an entry-exit point to the exterior, all encapsulated into 1. Classrooms, 1 restroom per classroom, as well as staff restrooms and a teacher workroom. Again, at the heart of every pod, we have the flex area. There we go. That all of these classrooms can utilize while still in their safe, secure pod. And also with the kindergarten spaces, we've added folding partitions between every 2 classrooms that allows each space to combine with 2 classrooms for more of a group learning environment. Healthy educational response. So this is COVID-19. I think as we can tell by the topics of tonight, Cy-Fair has been very forward thinking about COVID-19 and how to accommodate students. So this campus has been designed, by CDC's recommendations as well as the ASHRAE guidelines to provide a cleaner, healthier HVAC system. Interior and exterior design. So the first rendering is kind of a bird's eye view if you were at Clay in Elm Tree Dale Road. We'll zoom into the main entry of the building where it says Elementary 58. That's looking into the library space, so kind of connecting the library to the public. And this is in our learning courtyard. What I like about this site is that the L shape of the building almost hugs all of the exterior student activities and keeps it really enclosed and safe as well, just creating that extra layer of security that Cy-Fair has been striving for. An additional view of the learning courtyard, like an exterior classroom or breakout space. And this is the main entry view. To the left, you'll see your secure vestibule, and to the right will be the main learning stair that connects the first floor and second floor education wings. Now this is a look in the library. The orange box is the Kiva, which also has a folding partition that can be opened so that the whole space is flexible, but can also be closed so it can function as its own classroom. Now this is going down the education wing corridor We wanted to capitalize on all spaces of the building. So under each stair, there's actually a small set of learning stairs that each classroom pod can utilize with a writable surface or just a smaller breakout area that benefits each grade level. And this is a look into the classroom flex areas. And you'll see in the back, there's a folding partition open connecting the classroom and the pod. And now we have a quick animation for you. And to wrap up, I'll touch briefly on the project schedule. This project will bid this April. We will come back to the board for the project award in May, and construction will start this September and complete April 2023, leading to a fall 2023 opening. In closing, like Eric said, I'm a product of Cy-Fair. It's been awesome to be a part of this and just continue to see the district to grow, and so I thank y'all for that opportunity. With that, questions?
Thank you for the presentation. That was awesome, and obviously a Cy-Fair graduate doing a wonderful job. So do we have Mr. Ryan?
I was just shocked they didn't have Mark jogging by that elementary school on the virtual presentation.
You blinked. He was running so fast.
Yeah, I know. He couldn't even say like a Kenyan. Just. I don't really have a question. I do have a comment because it made me think when you started, through the years as we've grown, the dimensions of the land that we have gotten have been fairly unique, would be a good word for it. And I think, Roy, your staff and then what you saw from Mark and Eric tonight, the way that we're able to take a piece of pizza like that and the designs that y'all are putting on these campuses is a huge benefit because land is getting scarce out here. And so we're really being prudent with the money that we have by doing the buildings that we're doing that way. So both of those presentations tonight were fantastic. So thank you very much. And I just want to commend you guys, Roy, because that really is no easy task.
Any other questions? Mr. Jackson?
So similar as to before, please comment on how you plan to accommodate the challenges of enhanced technology. And then just a off-the-wall question for the outside learning areas. I always like to see those, but we are in Texas, and that area does seem to get fairly hot. So is there any mitigation that is contemplated for those areas? Or does it face in such a direction that it's not a problem?
So first off, the technology, yes, this building is designed to be able to grow as the district technology system grows. All the classrooms and flex spaces are very flexible and again, designed to kind of be able to retain more needs as the technology department deems necessary. For the outdoor learning areas, I think you would be surprised on how much they're used. Yes, they are very close to the building, so they will get some shade. And I think just in general, teachers now are utilizing the outdoor space because it's just a change of environment. So may it be a little bit hotter, it's a change up for the students that I think people have really started to enjoy.
Well, the heat was not so much atmospheric, but actually the surface heat.
Okay.
So are we using different materials that will not absorb as much heat?
Yes, so the surface of those outdoor teaching areas, it's called Trex decking, and it's more of a plastic decking that it absorbs heat, like you said. It's not hot. It's not something that kids are going to sit on and get burned or anything.
And that was the intent of that question.
Okay.
One other area I'd like for you to comment on. So I like the petitions and how they were able to move. When I went through Leadership TASB and I saw those in practice, something that I noticed is sound from one classroom would travel very easily through the partitions in the other classroom. So as the construction materials for sound dampening, is that been improved over the years?
It has. They definitely have a higher acoustic rating than they have in the past, as well as taking the gypboard all the way to deck above ceiling also helps kind of cut down on that sound transfer.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other question? Ms. Heineman?
I don't have a question. I just wanted to say thank you for the presentation. And I'm excited about both of these elementary schools. This one in particular, although it's at the very edge of our district and it's closely located to another elementary school, it truly meets the need of this community that has seen an increase in student population. And we've had the need to relieve some density at nearby elementary schools. So I think this is going to be a wonderful addition to our school. So I'm excited about this school particularly. Thank you.
Thank you. That was one of my statements, is that I know Sheridan and M. Robinson both are overcrowded. So this is a necessity, and I appreciate y'all doing this. I did have one question, and that is, I love the learning stairs, and we've seen that implemented in a number of our schools. Mm-hmm. And there were a couple of schools that didn't have electrical outlets in the stairs, and we were commenting that we thought that was a good idea because kids are going to have their own digital capabilities and might need to charge them as they're working. So just
Correct.
Curious.
Correct. There will definitely be ample power in the learning stairs, especially with the one-to-one laptops that y'all have adopted. Mm-hmm. We took that into account and actually added a couple more outlets at each stair to make sure that students can utilize that.
Wonderful. Y'all are way ahead of us. Thank you very much. Appreciate the presentation. Thank you.
Y'all.
Now we will go back to 7B. The administration will provide an oral report on the status of the 2014-2019 bond program. Still in employment is Mr. Matt Morgan.
Barely in employment. President Covey, Dr. Henry, members of the board, thank you for the opportunity to present tonight and mispronounce your name. Tonight we're going to give you an update on the 2014-2019 bond. And in 2014 we approved $1.2 million. In 2019 we approved $1.762 billion. The 2014 bond consisted of 6 phases. The first phase starting in 2015 and the last phase, phase 6, ending in 2023, which will be Elementary 58. Phase 6 included renovations, and phases 1 through 5 we've completed successfully. Phase 6 we completed successfully this summer for renovations. Elementary 57 will open in 2022, and Elementary 58 will open in 2023 as presented tonight. Most of the renovations included in the 2016 bond or 2014 bond phase 6 were minor renovations, which were building envelope repairs, civil work, installation of eyewash stations. We also completed Hopper, Kayla, and Salyard's middle school renovations, which almost completes the middle school track project. One of the projects I'd like to highlight in phase 6 is the ALC East and Carpenter Center. I don't know if you've driven down Perry Road in Winfern and seen the facade. PBK was the architect on that, and they did a fantastic job. We did do some interior work, finish replacements, hardware sets, fire sprinkler, lighting improvements with the security fencing, the renovated outdoor central courtyard, and the new drop-off and walk-off canopies, as well as the metal panel and masonry and glazing, really made a difference in that facility. Elementary 57, as was presented tonight, will open in 2023 and will be in the Bridgeland Master Plan community in the Parkland Village section. Elementary 58 will open in the 2023-2024 school year, and that will be located on Clay Road, just west of Fry Road. Some of the 2014 work was postponed. As we got into the design or the development of the 2019 bond, it became apparent that some of the projects that we were about to award contracts on in the 2014 bond, the work would conflict with what we were going to do in the 2019 bond. We'd actually go in and end up tearing it out within a few years. So we decided to postpone these projects and combine the scope of 2014-2019 to have a more complete project. So these campuses will be getting security for open concept classrooms. As a result of the security for open concept classrooms, we're doing quite a few classroom additions to these classrooms, or to these schools. Just to give you an example, Millsap and Yeager Elementary both get a 14 classroom addition. Francone is getting a 12 classroom addition, Lowry a 9 classroom addition, Horn an 8, Wilson, Haregrove from Fraser, and Owens are getting 6 classroom additions, and Copeland, Feast, and Sheridan are getting 4 classroom additions. They'll also be getting additional card readers on exterior doors, additional impact-resistant glass, classroom phones, security fencing, and furniture replacements. This work will be completed this summer. Just to give you as a reminder what the security for open concept classrooms look like. We've created pods of 4 to 6 classrooms. These pods will have doors with intruder lock sets, and each classroom will have at least one telephone, security phone. This is Lowry Elementary, the progress we're making at Lowry Elementary, which is a 9 classroom addition. This addition is actually complete, and we're doing the punch work starting this week. We'll start the renovation to the other part of the school to create the pods this summer. Millsap Elementary is tracking just a little bit behind. It didn't start quite as early, but this is a 14 classroom addition. This is an IBI project. It's going to make a huge difference to Millsap. Wilson Elementary is a 6 classroom addition, and it's another IBI project, and this will be also completed this summer, 2021. That's just an example of where we are project-wise for all these 2014 combined scope. Blisle Middle School and Campbell Middle School pretty much had the same scope. At Blisle and Campbell Middle School, this past summer, we went in and we renovated the administrative areas and the classroom areas with new finishes, carpet, lighting, new furniture. That was all completed in August of 2020. We're currently working on 1,000 square foot additions to the orchestra room. We're renovating the PE and locker room areas, and we're also providing new middle school tracks and replacing the press boxes. And these 2 schools will complete the middle school track project. In May of 2019, we brought a package to the board for a district-wide security fencing. This district-wide security fencing included security fencing for all campuses in phases 3 through 7. Phases 1 and 2 we're including in the renovation projects for those schools. We have, for phase 1 and 2 of the security fencing project, we've completed 17 elementary campuses. We're about to start design on phase 3, which includes 23 additional campuses. And when we complete those campuses this August, we'll start working on the middle school and high school portables. And we hope to have that finished by mid-year 2022. The 2019 bond is a 7-phase bond. We've already started obviously working on phase 1 and phase 2. We'll complete phase 7 in 2027. For phase 1, we've received bids on all projects, and the renovations will be completed by August of 2022. We've completed the first group of baseball, softball fields. Those achieved substantial completion in January of 2021. The exhibit and science resource centers, the bids were received February 4th, and we'll present those at the March board meeting. We've also started installing propane tanks at all 5 transportation centers. And I have a presentation that our communication group did on our baseball and softball fields we'd like to show you now. I think. One more click.
This has been a very big project. We started right at the end of the last baseball season, and we're still working right now. I think that turf was a priority. We were able to turf football and soccer stadiums, and we saw what that did for those programs. And so when we were preparing for the bond, that was an important consideration to try to add the baseball and softball.
We've converted this from a natural grass to artificial turf. We've upgraded the seating, we've upgraded all the dugouts, as well as some of the batting cages as part of the scope of work over here.
We're always going to be able to play. You know, it can rain, and within 15 minutes we can be out here. In the past, we might get a rain shower, a storm, and we might be out for a week or two, not just with games, but with practices as well.
Actually started design on our phase 2, hopefully starting construction on that very quickly.
We're going to be doing all of the schools, so every school can expect that they're going to have this type of upgrade over the next 3 to 4 years.
It's going to help reduce some of our maintenance costs in maintaining the field.
So I think in regards to athlete development, the execution of our contests, this is going to be a huge upgrade for us.
The fields turned out really nice. I don't know if you've had a chance to drive by or go walk on the fields. They're just beautiful. They included turf, fencing, bleachers, batting cage, bullpens, dugouts, and storage buildings for all the fields. They turned out really well. These are some of the aerial views. This is Cy Woods, Cy Ranch.
Hey, Matt.
Yes, sir.
They have it in your agenda to talk about the expanded seating.
The expanded seating, yes. We did do expanded seating for the Cy Falls. We did for baseball. We expanded seating up to 1,300. And at Cy Woods, we expanded baseball for up to 1,300. For softball, we did Cy Ranch and Cy Ridge, and we expanded seating for up to 900. And that's so that athletics can host tournaments on either side of the district. So that was another big part of the project. So this is Cy Ridge, or Cy Falls, sorry. I'm ahead of my... This is Cy Ridge. I'm sorry. I have a hard time seeing the logo. Okay. We also completed furniture replacements this summer. We contracted with IBI to be a furniture consultant for us. We started a committee with school leadership, curriculum, facilities to develop furniture standards for elementary and secondary. We completed furniture replacements to include classroom furniture, library furniture, administrative areas, and soft seating, and we completed Langham Creek, Blisle, Campbell, and Thornton this summer. We have 12 additional schools that will receive new furniture next summer. I don't know if you've had a chance to drive by Cy Woods, but we have a brand new brand tower at Cy Woods. They're very impressive. They are 40 foot tall. They have 4 different viewing levels. They have stairwells to each viewing level that are secured, so that they're much safer than the old ladders that were on the exterior. They're 4x4 tubular construction, galvanized steel, a much safer design than what we've previously had. So we will start installing these one a week through May, and we'll finish up with Bridgeland and Cy Park in June. With Phase 2, we're well underway in Phase 2 of the 2019 bond. The renovations, we've already completed the Hamilton and Reed traffic improvements. Those were completed the summer of 2020. The Cy-Fair Federal Credit Union Stadium turf was installed before football season last year. We are currently working on the Cy-Fair Federal Credit Union renovations. It's just some minor work, maintenance work mostly. We will bid the next baseball, softball. We received bids on those projects on February 16th for a March board award, and then they'll have a November substantial completion. The new admin and VPAC, new administrative building and visual performing arts center, we did a design development review last board meeting. We received bids on those March 16th for an April board award. We will complete the new administration building in November of 2022 at the Visual and Performing Arts Center in December of 2022. We have a new transportation center number 6, that we're currently in design. We'll take those bids in July, and that will be a September board award. That will be located on Jarvis next to Cy Woods. The Brodigan Center additions bid April of 2021 with a May board award. Next month, we'll bring you Middle School 20, which is located in the Bridgeland Master Plan site. And we'll open those bids in March, which will be a May board award. And that school will open in 23-24, school year 2023-2024. So Phase 2 is well underway. Just to give you an idea of the volume that we're currently doing, we currently have $189 million in buildings under construction and $451 million in design that will be awarded contracts this summer. So by this summer, we'll have about $640 million worth of work under contract. This is, I know you've all seen this if you've been to a football game. The stadium turned out really well. The Deuce Turf with the logo, we're very proud of that. So the rest of it, the bond phases, we haven't really started yet. We'll start design on Phase 3, so this should go pretty quickly. But we will start design on Phase 3 soon, finish Phase 3 in August 2023. Baseball, softball renovations, which will be Bridgeland, Cy Park, and Cy Springs, will be completed in November of 2022, and that's the last group, with the exception of Cy-Fair High School, which will be completed in the Cy-Fair Master Plan. We'll also do the Ben Bradley expansion, which will be completed in 2023. For Phase 4, we have renovations, multiple renovations, which are scheduled to be completed in 2024. Elementary 59, which is currently scheduled to be completed in 2024. We'll have to wait and see what PASA has to recommend with that. The Cy-Fair multi-campus renovation, which is Lambkin, Arnold, Cy-Fair High School. It's also the Cy-Fair master site plan, where we will reorientate the athletic fields, do the baseball, softball field, create a drive through that facility or through that property, and take care of some drainage issues on that site. And then we're going to repurpose ISC and ISC West, which should be complete in December 23. Phase 5, renovations will be complete in August of 2025. We'll repurpose Winfern High School, and that should be complete in August 25 too. We're waiting to see, after everybody moves into the new administration building, how we repurpose this building, who is going to be housed at Winfern High School. Phase 6, renovations will be complete in August of 2026, and we will be constructing a support services storage facility, which will be should be complete in December of 2024. And then finally, Phase 7, we'll start design in 2025 and substantial completion August 2027. So I'll turn it over to Teresa for the remainder of the presentation.
Do you mind just clicking for me or handing me the clicker? I will cover the remaining areas just so that we don't have the transition between multiple speakers. Moving on to transportation. 414 buses were purchased and approved by the board in October. They will be delivered in the summer of '21. That is part of the Bond 2019 program. In addition, the vehicle GPS system replacement will begin. Like all technology, it becomes obsolete very quickly. The technology has definitely improved. The advancements and upgrades will allow the system to move from a 3G to an LTE 4G and also have Bluetooth capabilities. We'll have a new transportation center, our 6th transportation center, which will be located next to Cywoods High School, and that will open in December 22. Vehicle replacements. The replacement schedule for the district's police fleet is scheduled with Phase 1 complete. There's no vehicles scheduled to be purchased in Phase 2, and then the remaining phases you can see there. Moving on to instructional technology, the Bond 2014 program is 92% complete with instructional technology. The remaining projects are the replacement of the CTE labs at all the high schools, and that was delayed due to COVID, and they're hopeful that they will be able to move forward with those projects and have those completed early in this fall. Money is also reserved for the technology, the instructional technology that will go into the new campuses that were a part of the 2014 bond program, and that's the 2 elementary sites that you just had a report on this evening, elementary 57 and 58. In looking at Bond 2019, that has been covering the purchase of the Chromebooks for the LTE one-to-one initiative. The initial purchase covered 79,500 devices, and that supplemented the approximately 40,000 Chromebooks that we already had in inventory. And so as of February 3rd, we were 70% complete in having Chromebooks out to all of our students, and they're hopeful that they'll be able to complete all of that before the end of this school year. I can't say enough about the work that team has done to get that program up and going in such a short amount of time. The elementary music and PE project was completed in the fall of 2020. Each elementary music and PE classroom received equipment that enhances the classroom instruction with portable microphones and sound systems that are utilized outside and at performances. Technology services, I'm really not going to go through all of the individual different areas here. I'm going to highlight a couple. With the Bond 2014 projects that were included, they're 97% complete. And again, what has been reserved is for elementary 57 and 58. And looking at the projects included in the Bond 2019 program, that's the next slide, you'll see all the different projects that are listed there. They are 14% complete. The one that I want to kind of go down and highlight and just share the status, and that is for the classrooms, telephones in the classrooms. I heard one of the presenters talk about that. All of the campuses will have phones in the classrooms by the end of 2021. I think we have 29 campuses complete at this time. So great progress on that project. Okay. And moving to the financial summary, you can see there that we've issued all of the, or authorized the issuance of all of the bonds from the 2014 bond program, and then you can see the remaining balance for the 2019 program. The tax rate history, I think this is important, and we always like to highlight this because I think it does show our financial efficiency. Although we were told or had to share with our taxpayers the potential for a tax increase with the 2014 bond authorization of 4.5 cents, the actual debt service tax rate decreased by 1 penny. The estimated maximum increase that we shared with our taxpayers for the 2019 bond authorization is 3 cents. This slide, though, reflects the tax history over the last 10 years, and as you can see, the total tax rate has decreased since the 2019 bond authorization that was approved by the voters. Moving on to the bond communication schedule. Last year, we shared with you the very detailed and comprehensive plan that the team had developed for sharing all of the progress made on all of the bond projects. And this ensures that we stay focused and that we're frequently communicating our progress to our taxpayers and community. The newly updated bond page on the district website shows the estimated construction completion dates and check marks when projects have been finished. I think this has been a good visual representation and easy for taxpayers and parents and community members to see the project. The presentation, tonight's presentation, once we finish this, we'll add this also to the bond page. We've definitely increased our social media presence, and that allows us to take advantage of the media for sharing bond updates. Photo albums are posted weekly to Facebook showing construction project progress. Press releases have been sent to media regarding the LTE 1-to-1 project and the renovated baseball and softball fields. And you saw, I think there was actually an article in the Houston Chronicle recently on the renovation of those fields. The communication team has also done a fantastic job in producing bond update videos. Mr. Morgan shared the most recent one on the baseball and softball field renovations, and upcoming videos will showcase the new high school band towers and other campus renovations. We've also incorporated many bond updates into the biweekly CFISD 360 videos that are produced by our high school AVP students. All of these videos are less than 3 minutes long and can easily be shared on social media. In addition to CFISD communication channels, we also include bond messages in local publications as a part of our district's marketing plan. You've probably seen some of that in the community impact. And now we'll open it up for questions. And obviously, I am not the expert on technology, transportation, or the finance people, but they are here to answer any questions you may have.
Board members, Mr. Gilbert.
So I see on the update here, Millsat will be finished in this summer. Then that's what it looks like. Is that correct? Okay, good. I know because when my visit there last year, they were working with the 2014 bond money also, and we're patiently waiting for the improvement and enlargement and stuff. So.
It's going to be a very nice project. That was a 2-year project. Once we combined the funds, so we expanded the scope. The 14 classroom addition will make a huge difference at Millside.
Excellent job. Also, the new football field you're putting on at Campbell and Blyle, will they consist of a track on the outside?
Yes, sir. New tracks in the football fields.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
plus press boxes.
Yeah, the old one didn't
facilities.
have a track, so I wasn't sure. And we went by there the other day, and it looked like there was coming up, but I wasn't sure, though.
Yes, sir.
And I'm assuming it's going to be natural turf still?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
At the middle schools, it's natural turf.
Okay. All right. Appreciate it. Thanks. Great presentation, Matt.
In the 2014 bond, we had new tracks in 2014, so we're finishing up the scope of that work. And then, as Mr. Morgan said, there were many of our press boxes at the middle schools that needed a little bit of work, and the fields are going to be very nice, but it is natural grass.
Yes, and to Karen and the whole Mr. Snow and everything, great job spending the money wisely and on time too, though. Great job, everybody.
Next, Ms. Jackson, you got something?
Did we have to sacrifice anything on technology when we went to our 1-to-1?
I'm going to ask Ms. Ross to come up. The question is, did we sacrifice any of the projects that we had originally listed in the technology bond program?
No, sir, Mr. Jackson, we did not. The funding for the 1-to-1 came from the curriculum classroom side, and so that is the funding that was used to purchase the devices. We did not sacrifice any of our cyber security or our network infrastructure refresh.
So when we take a look at percent complete, when I engage the way that I was taught, yes, you look at what percent complete you are, but then you look at what dollars you've spent versus how much additional work has to be done. I know on the construction side, that's commonplace. It's called percent complete construction accounting. If we apply that concept to technology, where would we be? Are we going to be short some money Do we have overage?
Currently, we allocated about 14% for each phase of the spin down, and we are on target for phase one. And we've projected through the next 6 years, and I think that we will be on target for that.
Okay, very good, thank you.
Ms. Blackshear, you have anything? No? Mr. Ryan, you okay? Dr. Ogletree, you okay? Ms. Hanneman?
Yes. Thank you for the great presentation. I think it's always helpful to give an update on those past bond programs. Just a couple of comments. Trying to read my handwriting here. First of all, I think it's important to understand that a lot of this has to do with asset protection. I know we see across other school districts, sometimes facilities will deteriorate to the point where they have to be torn down and new schools built to replace them. We don't do that in Cypher ISD. We renovate our existing facilities and bring them up to the highest standards so that all of our schools, all of our students have the same opportunity, the same technology, the same furniture, the same learning environments, regardless if that school was built in the 50s or 60s or built in the 2000s. So this is a way of preserving our assets. So it's an investment, and I appreciate that our community sees that and understands that and approves these bond programs by such overwhelmingly positive votes. The band tower. So the band director at Cy Woods was literally like in tears when that band tower was delivered. And he was, as a band parent, I was getting all the reminds, and the kids were so excited. And it's just good to see, again, that investment in our fine arts programs and in the safety of our band directors, who are the ones that are climbing up on those big towers. You've been on one of those towers, right? It was, yeah. It was a little shaky, but the new ones are really nice. And again, I appreciate that long-term investment. Also, speaking of long-term, it's important to understand that the debt matches the life cycle of the assets. So when we talk about the investments that we're making in technology, the debt is paid off as it matches the life cycle of the asset. So if the technology is good for 5 years, that debt is paid off in 5 years. We are also constantly paying off debt. So it's not like this is just piling on top of each other. We are constantly paying down our debt ongoing. So I think that's important for our community to understand as well. And I think that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Heineman.
Mr. Cope, can I make one comment?
Yeah, sure.
Because Ms. Heineman touched on it, and Karen, I'm not going to put her on the spot, but I kind of am here. But the last bonds we sold were a record for this school district. So could you just, off the top of your sheet of paper there, tell us
I
what
actually brought it with me.
Do you mind if she just shares that? Because I think it's important.
Because I thought you might want to know. Yes, our last bond sale, it was the total, they call it total in cost because they take into consideration the interest plus then the additional cost. But we did it at 1.97%, which was, you know, we felt like the best deal we've ever had, and one of the best deals that we had seen in the Texas area and during that year, actually, at 1.97%, especially for a district our size and a bond sale that size. So we were very pleased with that. We also had a refunding in conjunction with that we refunded and saved the taxpayers, you know, money down the line, I guess you could say, as far as future tax rate, which would help with that. So we actually had 2 bond sales during, I don't know if you recall the parameter order that we did, but we had 2 bond sales that we had. One was in the summer, which was the 2020, and then the 2020A that we had in October.
Okay. Thank you. Just, Roy, and that's probably part of what I remember is on some of our other bonds, we saved money and were able to build a facility out of the savings that we had. Have we realized that on these 2 bonds?
We're actually seeing some good savings remaining on 2014 that we're using to cover some extra needs that we have. And right now we're staying right on track with our projected costs for 2019. So we're real pleased with where we stand up to this point in time.
Okay, that's good news. Thank you. Any other questions? Dr. Ogletree?
Bob, I just wanted to make this comment. Those band towers are so high. If we have saved a lot of money, maybe we could put in a request for some elevators out there. Those things are high.
You know, but those new band towers really are special. My son, when he was drum major, had to climb up one of the old ones. Those things weren't, in my humble opinion as a parent, those things really weren't all that safe. So I'm glad that we are making these changes.
And
Thank
you can also throw water balloons off those a lot further because they're you don't shake as much. That's just another tip for the kids. I'm here for the kids.
That's nothing that you did. You just think that could happen? You could. Okay.
Don, that's why I think the entry to it is locked.
Okay, we will now proceed to the consensus action items portion of the agenda. Gentlemen that came and presented for the architectural designs, if y'all would like to get up and leave, there will be nothing said against you. Matt Morgan's the only one that's on the, yeah, he's got to stay. But if y'all would like to leave, you're welcome. If you don't want to, you're welcome to stay. So, all right, the board will consider approving the minutes of the January 14, 2021 regular board meeting. If any board member wishes to remove this item for further discussion, please do so at this time. If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the consensus items as recommended and are amended. May I have a motion?
Mr. President, I move that we approve the consensus items as recommended and or amended.
Thank you, Mr. Ryan. Do I have a second? Thank you, Dr. Ogletree. Any questions? Nope.
Just a comment, I will
Yes.
abstain from voting since I was not present at that meeting.
Okay. All in favor, raise your right hand. Okay, that's unanimous with one abstention. Action items non-consent. 9A, the board will review and consider the adoption of the revised board operating guidelines outlining the duties of the public officer. I'm the presenter. It's going to be very quick. It says questions only, but just to let you know, in our last session in our Team of 8 meeting, we went over the board operating guidelines, which is something we need to do on a regular basis. And we did make some changes. So I am very pleased to tell you that this board took under it was a daunting situation. We had to work real close with Marnie, and sometimes that can be difficult, but yeah. Anyway, so we came up and we made some editorial edits, and we're very happy with it. So do we have any questions about that? Anybody? Not being any, may I have a motion to approve the non-consent items as recommended or amended?
Mr. President, I move that the board authorize the execution of the revised board operating guidelines.
Thank you, Mr. Ryan. Thank you, Ms. Blackshear. Anybody have any comments? Okay, then what, all in favor, raise your right hand. That's unanimous. Now I would like to ask each board member to please sign the revised board operating procedures acknowledgement in front of you, as I will do myself, then give it to Holly at the end of the board meeting. Please take 2 to 3 minutes to sign that.
2 to 3 minutes.
What?
2 to 3 minutes?
You still print your name on that big chief? You don't need 2 to 3 minutes.
Well, I thought you might have trouble finding it, Mr. Ryan, but that's okay.
It's signed, it's signed.
How do you spell Covey? Matt?
I don't know, sir, but I can spell Kobe.
Okay. 9B, the board will consider approving the budget amendments for the period of October 1st, 2020 through December 31st, 2020. Any questions for Karen Smith?
I do.
Yes, Ms. Blackshear.
Can you tell me how many additional personnel have been added because of the pandemic, like teachers, paras, and nurses?
I believe Deborah has that, wasn't it like 18 teachers? Is that correct?
8 para, 10 clinic assistants,
were we able to staff all the positions that were requested?
Well, we do have some vacancies, but for those additional positions for social distancing, additional support in the classroom, we absolutely were.
Okay. What about clinic assistants? Were we able to fill all those requests?
We have 3 vacancies, but I don't know if those are from the additional or just regular. We have
They're the
3
additional.
vacancies.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions?
Thank you, Karen.
If none, may I have a motion to approve the non-consent item as recommended or amended?
Mr. President, I move the board to approve the budget amendments for the period of October 1, 2020 through December 31, 2020.
Thank you, Ms. Jackson. May I have a second? Second. Thank you, Gilbert. All in favor, please raise your right hand. And that's unanimous. Thank you. 9C, the board will consider approving on second reading additions, revisions, or deletions to district policies. 9C1 FNF, local students' rights and responsibilities, interrogations and searches, revise. Are there any questions? No questions. May I have a motion for the non-consent item as recommended or amended?
Mr. President, I move that the board consider approving on second reading additions, revisions, or deletions to district policies FNF, local students' rights and responsibilities, interrogations and searches, revised.
Thank you, Dr. O. May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Ryan. All in favor, raise your right hand. Unanimous. Moving on, 9D, the board consider awarding bids, contracts, and or authorizing purchase orders as recommended in the posted agenda items. 9D1, internet-related services for Cyrus One project E-rate. We have any questions? I'm going to ask one question, and I don't know whether it's Bill or Paula, but in a brief amount of information, can you share what the E-rate is? Because I've had a number of people ask me, what exactly does that mean?
Yes, sir, Mr. Covey.
Okay.
Our E-rate
You're
program.
good. You're good.
Our E-rate program is a federally funded program, and it's based upon our free and reduced status. And so when, for example, with our internet-related services, we will apply for E-rate funding, and we'll receive about 80% of the funding back in federal funds to help compensate.
Is there a move in Congress right now to do away with the E-rate?
No, sir.
You haven't heard that?
We're hoping it expands to include cybersecurity and other technology initiatives.
Thank you. That's the question I wanted. Thank you. May I have a motion to approve the non-consent item as recommended or amended?
Mr. President, I move that the board award bids and contracts and or authorized purchase orders as recommended in the posted agenda item.
Thank you, Mr. Ryan. May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Blackshear. All in favor, raise your right hand. That's unanimous. 9E, the board will consider approving change order number 2 to the construction contract with Field Turf USA Incorporated for the installation of additional perimeter fencing and gates, storage fencing, concrete flat work, repairs to existing field lighting systems, and related site work at Cy Falls, Cy Ranch, Cy Ridge, and Cy Woods High School, and authorize the superintendent or designee to negotiate, execute, and amend all contracts necessary to the completion of this work. Are there any questions? Hearing none, may I have a motion to approve the non-consent item as recommended or amended?
Mr. President, I move that the board approve change order number 2 to the construction contract with Field Turf USA, Inc. for the installation of additional perimeter fencing and gates, storage fencing, concrete flat work, repairs to existing field lighting systems, and related site work at Cy Falls, Cy Ranch, Cy Ridge, and Cy Woods High School, and authorize the superintendent or designee to negotiate, execute, and amend all contracts necessary to complete this additional work.
Thank you, Mr. Ryan. May I have a second?
I second.
Thank you, Ms. Heineman. All in favor, raise your right hand. And that's unanimous. 9F, the board will consider approving the granting of a temporary construction easement to Harris County for the construction of concrete sidewalks along Logan Bow Road to Andre Elementary School and authorize the superintendent or designee to negotiate the final terms and execute all related documents. Are there any questions?
Just a comment, Mr. Covey,
Sure.
and
Yes, sir.
there may be some questions also, but, you know, as a district and personally, and as a board, I know we want to thank Municipal Utility District number 165 for their generous donation. This is not the first time that they've really been good to the school district, and we continue to have a great partnership with just almost every one of our MUDs, and we are certainly appreciative of the playgrounds, of the sidewalks, and all the great things they do on behalf of our district and our students.
Thank you, Dr. Henry. Do we have any questions? Now, hearing none, may I have a motion to approve the non-consent items as recommended or amended.
Mr. President, I move that the board approve the granting of a temporary construction easement to Harris County for the construction of concrete sidewalks along Logan Bar Road to Andre Elementary School and authorize the superintendent or designee to negotiate the final terms and execute all related documents.
Thank you, Dr. Ogletree. May I have a second? Thank you, Ms. Blackshear. All in favor, raise your right hand. Unanimous. 9G, the board will consider approving construction proposals and contracts paid from bond funds to the recommended contractor and authorize the superintendent or designee to execute all necessary documents related to such contract as follows. 9G1, 2019 Rennell Elementary School renovations and West Green Agricultural Center addition. Are there any questions? May I have a second, if none? May I have a motion?
Mr. President, I move that the board award this construction contract to the recommended contractor and authorize the superintendent or designee to execute all necessary documents related to such contract.
Thank you, Ms. Jackson. May I have a second? Gilbert, was that you? Okay, thank you, Gilbert. All in favor, raise your right hand. And that's unanimous. 10A, the superintendent will provide information regarding district events and items of community interest. Dr. Mark Henry.
Thank you, Mr. Covey. Since 1976, every U.S. president has officially designated the month of February as Black History Month. Black History Month is a celebration of achievements by African Americans and a time for recognizing the central roles and contributions of Black Americans to our country. Curriculum activities and cultural arts programs will focus on the influence of Black history and its impact on the diversity of our nation and world. I don't know if you've ever seen this or not, but you can get insight into our district's history by learning about the early settlers of Independence Garden, currently known as the Carverdale community. We have a great video posted on our district website which tells their story and includes longtime community members sharing their memories. So check that out if you get a chance. It's worth your time. I'd like to remind the community that Monday, February 15th is President's Day. It's a student holiday and a staff work day, and classes will resume Tuesday, February 16th. Thank you, Mr. Covey.
Thank you very much. Thank you all for staying. We are now adjourned. Happy Valentine's Day. Thank you.